Hello everybody. All right, it's a Tuesday evening, a wonderful Tuesday evening. We just had showers of blessing earlier in the day, so I hope you are feeling cool, refreshed from your hard day work. Showered, have your dinner. If not, you can eat and tune in. And today I have a very special guest with me. His name is Jay Ng. We were actually from the same junior college. We were both from Hua Chong. He's actually 1 year my senior. So we got connected by chance because one of my senior who is in the same CCA, he knows Jay and he connected us lah. All right, so Jay, so maybe introduce yourself a little bit
Hello,
about
hello.
what you do. Yeah, tell us
Yeah, I
about
think
what,
I
what
think
you
firstly, thanks
do.
for having me. Yeah, really excited to be here. Uh, Very cool little stream yard that we were just talking about earlier. Yeah. Yeah, introduce something about myself. Start with introducing that I have a newborn. So today is 20th, right? So she's 11 day old. I have
11
a
days old. Wow.
Yes, yes. So I hope she doesn't wake up somewhere. She's somewhere in with my confinement nanny. Yeah, father of two. My son is turning 6 this year. Yeah, so
Mm-hmm.
that's
So
about
how's the
me.
experience been? The baby, second baby.
Yeah, it has been surprisingly easy. At least
Easy?
compared, yeah, surprisingly compared to my first, I think it's much better.
Okay.
Yes,
I'm sure sleep is a precious commodity to you now.
yes, that's right. Yes.
Yeah, maybe tell us a little bit about what do you do and why do you do what you do?
Yes. Basically, if I look back to the time that I started my career, I think I've been in various types of organizations doing various things, but predominantly when I started my career is in finance, so
Mm,
trader and
mm,
investment management. But I've
mm,
also so within that space, I've had stints with different types. Yeah, as I said, uh, for example, MNC, a small hedge fund, and I've also been with government. So uh, yeah, different types of exposure there. Business wise, I'm also quite entrepreneurial. Is very difficult. I always say that starting new things is one of the most difficult job in the world.
mm.
Don't do it. Don't do it unless you're the kind that no matter what people tell you, you just go ahead like me. So if you are that kind, then okay, I think it's fine. So I started various things when I
Mm.
was in uni. Simple things like selling laptop sleeves. I remember
Yep. Mm-hmm.
back then it was all black color, so I put a bit of design and I so and things like that. So I run tuition center and things like that. Uh,
Mm.
my last venture is actually a fintech. Uh,
Mm-hmm.
Interestingly, they just announced today. They just raised a round, and then after that, which is
Mm.
WeShine now. After that fintech, I'm actually working on WeShine, and the mission is really to improve livelihood of people. When we
Mm-hmm.
say people, actually, World Economic Forum calls them the base of pyramid.
Mm.
Some other countries call them base 40 or base 20. So really looking at this group of people who form the foundational layer of society and looking at how do we um, contribute to, I guess, the SDG goal number one, poverty alleviation. And as I go into this area, it's really complex. And I think the problem is really just so big. So I think what we are trying to do is really just to see where we can fit ourselves within so many other organizations that are already looking at this area. And we found that where we can fit ourselves really is to look at reducing friction in this space. Where
Mm.
when we talk about reducing friction, what do we mean? So what is the problem on the ground that we see? And of course, maybe just a little bit of context. We talk about the who, and also the where, right? So I think
Yep.
we are predominantly interested in ASEAN because that's where we are. But even in
Mm.
ASEAN, I think there's two things. One is we are talking about urban poor and rural poor, and the problems are very different. For example, in rural pro, it's really about accessibility, maybe even infrastructure like
Yep. Yep.
electricity, internet. Urban poor is a totally different problem. And then you have countries that are very advanced, like Singapore, Hong Kong, versus countries like perhaps Indonesia, Malaysia, Vietnam, Cambodia. So then we look at, both. So I think we are really interested to look at, say, Indonesia, Malaysia. I think that's where there's a lot of people that need help.
Yep.
But since we are here in Singapore, thankfully, we also gotten started on a few things. For example, we are now part of the Ministry of Manpower's Alliance for Action for Lower Wage Workers. So then, when I bring this up, it's just to bring up, the problems are a little bit different, but
Yep.
predominantly within this group, no matter where we are, be it in Singapore or be it in a lesser developed country, I think we see that there's a few problems with the tools that white collar like yourself or
Yep.
maybe even
Yep.
myself, the tools that are available to us are really not available or irrelevant. So we've done some on the ground research and we find that I would say maybe about 90 to 95% of them do not use any tools when they're thinking about upskilling themselves or even to look for opportunities.
Okay.
And when we talk about opportunities, I think we look at it both as finding a better job, and that better job can be within the same industry, advancing, or within the same company, getting a promotion and advising. And also, perhaps more interestingly, I think is cross industry. I was just attending Davos not too long ago. I think Davos was 1 or 2 months ago. And there was one speaker, and she gave this example that, for example, a company that's looking for somebody in a very high precision factory. Actually, the skill set, if you look at the skill set, it is how good you are with your fingers, and I find that one
Yes.
of the match is actually a sushi chef because they're very good with their finger, and that's really looking at things from skill set, personality, attitude point of view. And then I talk about how somebody can advance. So in this case, if I am working as a cashier, my skill set, can I actually look at some other verticals that actually has a very high match to my skill set? I think that's also one way that we are looking at it. So that's more of the jobs that are around people. Really trying to get a better profiling. So we're talking about better profiling of the people so that we know them better. We can then try to get them or give some advice how they can improve their livelihood. Now, the other part is actually this bigger trend of remote digital.
Yep.
And I'll give one example. This was an inspiration, at the beginning when we were looking at what we are doing. I attended a conference, and there's this lady who runs a social enterprise in a small village outside of Jakarta. And basically, if you're talking about jobs there's no jobs, right? So you're talking about
Yeah,
matching.
there's no jobs.
There's no jobs. There's no meaningful job anyway. But what this group done is that they train some of them. Many of them, they may not have food on the table, but actually they do have a smartphone. They do have data. May not be very high speed, but they do have. And so what happened is that they put together some of these men and women, and they train them to do image tagging for Canadian AI company. So that inspired me. Of course, we're not going to go around setting up centers like that, but I think there's a whole bigger space, especially because of COVID, the world we are in now. Can we
Yes.
start to enable more of these? When we talk about matching jobs, can we also not just think about physical jobs, but trying to match people to digital remote? Now,
Yep.
I talk about people, I talk about job, and then in between the bridge will be skills. For example, I come back to my last example, which is a digital remote. Yeah, that's a very good idea. But today, do they really have the skill set to do that? Maybe the answer is no. So then I think in the middle is how can we most efficiently bridge the gap? So again, we are not thinking of being the skill set education provider, but more of trying to understand what is out there in the market and trying to find the best way to bridge those gaps. So I would say WeShine, we are predominantly that kind of I would say we are profiling. We are very focused on profiling, because when we are able to profile, then we are able to bring about this kind of recommendation. Almost like some of my friends say you're like a headhunter or career coach for these people. I say, yeah, we are something like that.
Okay, I'm just curious to know. So the current
Yes.
role we shine, but let's take things back a little bit down history lah. So what was the point of time where it made you decide that the okay, I have enough with corporate world and I want to have a 180-degree change of that? Because it sounds to me like I mean in the finance, and then
Mm.
now this one is WeShine doing HR, helping people to find jobs, coaching them, so on and so forth. It's quite a switch. So what was the incident or series of incidents that led to this switch?
Mm. I think there's
Mm,
two pivotal points in my
mm,
life that led to this.
mm,
One was really, I think I had the fortune of experiencing near death. So it is really a fortune, because I think, uh, the alternative is that I had not experienced that, and I lived my life, and maybe at 80 years old, and then I had that, and there's no chance to reverse my life, so to speak.
mm,
But I had that kind of experience. This was 2017. 2017. Yeah,
yes.
so about, yeah, a couple of years back. So basically, long story short, I was in UK and I fell sick, and it was quite bad, and I almost died. So when I was lying
Mm,
there, I think just a couple thoughts in my mind. One is,
mm,
health is important. This is
mm,
what I always tell people. Why? For a very practical reason. It's very painful. I mean, some diseases are not so painful, but mine was
yep.
really painful. Yeah, a doctor
Mm,
always ask me the pain score. I say it's about 7 to 8 lah. And then the last time that I can benchmark is that when I in army, I knocked my head, and I had about 5 stitches here.
wow. Yes.
That pain score was about 6. Yeah, so it's definitely more than that. And yeah, it's very painful. And so I say,
Mm,
health is important, because you don't really want to go through that kind of pain. Second was
yes.
really about relationship. I just
Mm,
remember that back then my son was about 2, my elder,
yep. Yep.
and I was just thinking about, okay, my parents, and I've not
Mm,
spent enough time with them. My friends, I've not been a very good friend. I've been so focused on my career and all, and that's not a
mm,
bad thing, but I think it's just about priority in life. And then my
yes.
son, where I have a chance to see him grow up and things like that. So then I realized that, and I wasn't thinking about anything material at all. Anything
Mm,
like remotely material, money, my car, no, nothing, zero. I was just thinking about relationships, and that was quite enlightening. Now, finally, I think back about
mm,
my career or my life, even as a
yep.
student, and I just felt that, I remember this very clearly. I just felt that even the
Mm,
nurse, and to say that even is not a good word. I mean, like the nurse who's taking care of me is actually making me very comfortable, right? Because otherwise, I'll be in very bad shape.
yep. Yep.
I think about my job, and again, I
Mm,
don't think there's anything particularly wrong about my previous jobs and all that. But I just felt that, personally, that wasn't
mm,
that wasn't giving an impact, or as much impact as I like, to society. So that stuck
mm,
with me, and
mm,
I just tell myself, okay, after this, I think I have to take impact a little bit more seriously. So that stuck
mm,
with me. And so these 3 points, carry me forth, but it wasn't as pivotal as
mm,
later, I found faith again through many
mm,
other things, but
mm,
including
yep.
this episode. And when I
Mm,
found faith, I think that just really changed my life. So I would say the 1.0 is the near death, and the 1.0 or 1.1 is the near death. The 2.0, the major change is actually because of my faith.
So how did your faith cause you to change your mindset, change your perspective, and then have a total different? Because it sounds as if now your priorities are achieving. shifted around, and now you have total different set of focus and priorities. So how did your faith actually change that?
I don't know who is listening to this actually.
Yeah, they all know that I'm a Christian, so it's all right.
Yeah.
No problem.
But I'll just describe it very simply as saying that when you have encountered God firsthand, have a real relationship, God changes us. It's not a teaching. God
Yes.
molds us. God changes us, and I guess that's just what happened to me and my family.
Wow, that's very amazing. That's very amazing.
And
So,
change in a way
yeah.
that basically you better prioritize your life the right way. Yeah, I think that's how I describe.
So, what were your priorities before the encounter with God, and what are your priorities after that? What was the difference?
The main difference is that I think it starts with. I mean, this kind of conversation I can go on and on and on, but I'm mindful of firstly time lah, and also who is listening. But again, I'll just describe it as the worldview. I think it's the worldview. If I were to describe it from that angle, the before worldview is really more of success in terms of worldly success, be it your career, and coming from a background that good school, I have quite a good career to start. I think it's more of that kind of just trying to keep up and trying to perhaps even do much more, to be a better trader, make more money, have a bigger car, bigger house, and that sort of things. Yeah, so I think that, and then I was talking about worldview. So with that, I think that's really talking about things that are perhaps in the next 30 years.
Yes.
Right, like I'll be thinking about, say, retirement. Again, that's not a bad thing. That's important, but that's the worldview, right? So that was the after. I think the after worldview is more than even 80 years. It's like, okay, so after 30 years, 50 years, today I'm 38. So when I'm 90, if I'm still alive, and then what's next? And it's like the worldview is what's next. Does it mean that I just build and accumulate, and some will be like, okay, I'm going to leave something for my kids and make sure they have something that they have a good starting point and all that. Again, that's all important, but what's next? So I think it's this worldview.
That's always a big question. What's next?
Yeah, I think it's this worldview that has changed, because I recognize personally that whatever that we do today, and they're all good things, but that's now, right? And there's something that's after. So we are talking about doing things that have that in mind, that I think we want to do good and whatever, live a good life today, but we also want to make sure that in the what's next, in eternity,
What's next? Yeah.
we are accumulating something good. Put it this way. Yeah. And then that totally changed our lives, because I give you a very simple example. When you have that worldview, you're not so worried, or you're not so concerned about the trivial things in life.
Actually, that's very true. Actually, in life, we tend to major on the minor, and then we minor in the major. Yeah.
Yes.
So we don't have to focus on the wrong things. And then in life, we always look to accumulate things, right? Then we treasure things, and then we use people.
Yeah, I mean, even things like, for example, our kids. I think if their parents listening, kids become a very core part of their life. But even things like our kids. So what if my son doesn't do well for PSLE? Something like that. Or they don't do well for their O level or A level. I think now it's IB. Things like that. So what? So again, if your worldview is a little bit larger, a little bit longer, then I think that pales in comparison. Yeah. Again, that's not to say that not having good result is, or rather having good result is not important. It is important. But if things happen, and things happen in life,
Yeah, they do. They always things are guaranteed to happen.
in all aspects, yeah. And so when the inevitable happens, you just learn to be able to deal with it better.
How are you able to
I
deal
hope
with?
that makes sense.
Yeah, it makes sense. Totally makes sense. How did how were you able to cope with challenges in life after that shift in mindset? How are you better?
Mm. I can't think of another way but to be very direct and say that it's just leaning on my faith, which is God.
Yeah.
You know, yeah. As you're asking, I'm trying to think how can I phrase it. You know, in a not so direct way. I can't. I think it's just leaning on God.
There's no
Yeah.
other way. So moving forward, right? How's your
Yes.
current project? How does it gel with now your current priorities and your current worldview? How does it gel together with your work with WeShine?
Yeah. Yeah. I think it is very much about others. I think WeShine takes a view that, or I take a view. I think
Yeah.
my values will come down to WeShine as a whole. But I think we take a view that others come first, and
Yes. Yes.
not me, or you know. And what do I mean by that? I think firstly, when we think about venture,
Yeah.
uh, impact is embedded,
Yeah.
right? So basically the better we do, hopefully, you know, and we are just at a very beginning stage, but I really hope that the better we do, the more impact will be achieved. And of course, I have a mentor who then recently told me that
Yeah.
between impact and profits, it is, we all know it's very difficult, okay, but he was telling me
Yeah.
that it is impossible to have both. I don't
Mm.
know. So I've been pondering. But what I do know is that if ever there's a dilemma, there's a choice that I have to make between more profits for perhaps ourselves
Yeah.
versus, and that's gonna negatively impact impact. You know, that's
Yes.
gonna, yeah.
Yes.
Then I think I need to choose impact.
Mm.
I think that's what, yeah. But does it mean that I cannot have both impact and yet profitability? As my mentor told me, I don't know. I'm
Mm.
pondering. Yeah, I'm learning. Yeah. So it's all. I think, like, back to your question. I think it's about
Mm.
others. You know, so
Yeah.
when we take this kind of mindset, it's about how can we really love the people that we are serving. So be it the people who are looking for reskilling, upskilling
Yeah. Yeah.
opportunities, who
Yeah.
need better income, and also the people who employ them, and
Yeah.
also people who work for WeShine. So people
Mm.
like internal
Mm.
employees.
Mm. Mm.
How do we love them? I was just reading one article a friend sent me
Yeah.
yesterday about Hai Di Lao. A very quite
Mm.
interesting article. Uh, I would say the summary is that the founder, lah, I think his name is Zhang Yong,
Yeah.
basically treat every one of them like family, and he really means it, lah, to the extent that
Mm.
when he basically in the article is summarized as saying, a lot of people say, you know, employees are family, but what does it mean by family? This is in China, right? So they say
Mm.
in Beijing, many say your family, but they put the employees and let them stay
Mm.
in basement with
Mm.
no windows, very
Mm.
humid and very shabby place, and then
Mm.
they themselves stay in nice place.
Mm.
So I think Hai Di Lao, at least to the article lah, you know, I don't know whether it's totally accurate, but the article is saying that they don't do that. They really house the people properly. They do many things, you know. They take care of their children, take care of their
Mm.
parents, and things like that. And I thought that's really just putting others above themselves. You know, of course, in the process, Zhang Yong became a very rich man. So that's another another story lah. But I think I'm more focused on this part about really putting into action, putting others before ourselves. I think that's one of the key things that you asked about
Mm.
worldview. Yeah, so that is one of the
Mm.
link.
Mm.
Yeah, so that's the link, putting others before
Mm.
ourselves.
There's a comment by Polly Chan. I just saw it. I think StreamYard is having a little bit of issue just tonight. I don't know why, but anyway, Polly Chan commented, "This little light of yours, let it shine, let it shine, let it shine." I think this is a song. Yeah, this is awesome. Thanks, Pauline, for that. Yeah. And yeah, back to what you're saying. Actually, I feel that sometimes I'm not sure what your life experience is, but it sounds as if you had a turning point where you had these few incidents, and then of course when you found your faith, and then you also found your turning point, and then it also gave you the different focus and then reprioritize things. So my question to you will be, what should people who do not have clear direction, because for me, I also had the same experience as you. I found my direction after I found my faith. But before that, what I thought of life was literally going to a good school and then going to university, graduate, get a degree, and then get a job and find a wife, settle down. This is literally what I thought of life. Yeah. So what advice do you have to say to those people who are kind of a little bit aimless or stuck in a corporate rat race that they don't seem to see the light at the end of the tunnel? What will your advice be to these people?
I think it's asking the question, what's life?
What's life?
What's life? Yeah. Asking themselves that question. What is life all about? Yeah. It starts from there. Yeah. And then you start to unpack things, right? You say, okay, what is life for me? Wherever we are, whoever we are. Yeah, and you start to unpack, questions like what's after life, and even what am I working for? What am I pursuing? Is what I'm pursuing, if I'm pursuing, say, happiness, for example, which a lot of people are, right? I'm pursuing happiness. And so what's my journey to pursue happiness? Is it money? Is it power? What is it? Is it relationship? And is that life? Is life about pursuing happiness? Maybe it is, maybe it's not. So I think it starts from there, asking what's life. Yeah, and start to unpack. I know it's very generic, but I think
It's actually not
important.
generic. Actually,
It's
you
important.
unpack it.
Yeah.
It's a step in the right direction. If you ask yourself what's life instead of, but actually the thing is about most people, they like to stay in their comfort zone. Yeah, they really like to stay in their comfort zone, and then they have a career. I mean, most people our age, you and me, about one year difference lah. So most people our age, they already be in their comfort zone. So they'll be like professionals. They will be like mid management or upper management. Maybe some are married, settled down, and one or two kids, and they are just comfortable where they are. Yeah. I mean, nothing wrong in that. But sometimes I feel that you just need that little spark to find that, because from what you have shared so far, I have the sense that you actually found your little spark.
Yeah, so even if somebody is very comfortable where they are, I think that's, like you say, that's fine. But it's more than that. So again, if they start, so if somebody who is very comfortable in a very stable family, career, and everything. So imagine, I don't know who this person, but let's just say this archetype, right? Stable person. And this stable, and I'm just thinking as we are speaking, right? So this stable person start to ask, what's life? So is life just about this current comfort? And then it will ultimately lead to the point of death, because death is inevitable. Death is the only certainty that is constant.
You're right.
And people do not approach. I mean, in between you can think about many things, but ultimately, if you think about life, it will lead to death. And then you ultimately will have to think about what's after death. And so no matter where you are, whether you're comfortable or you're in crisis or whatsoever, I don't know. I mean, and anyway, this thing about what's life just came out today. It's the first time I I thought of it because you asked the question. But at least of tonight, I just think that this is one way.
Janice just made a comment. I just saw it. Janice,
Yeah.
Congratulate you. What you have done
Thank
with
you.
WeShine is great. Janice Ong. Yeah. Thanks, Janice. Thanks for your nice words.
Yeah. So I think ultimately it's asking,
Mm.
or exploring life itself.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Well, I think we are always on this continual exploration phase. So maybe could you share what are your plans for WeShine in the next 12 to 24 months? And what are you really looking forward to?
Yeah, it's quite technical, but we are looking
Mm.
to establish what I call a minimum viable company
Yep.
over the next 6 to 12 months, I would say.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Um, and that's on the back of the MOM initiative lah, that I talk about.
Yep.
Yeah, so that's maybe up to the what do I mean by minimum viable company first? I think it's to the I think it's three pillars lah. It's talking
Yeah.
about, but basically it's what most startup call product market fit. Whereby
Yep.
you are able to find a solution to a real problem.
Mm. Yes.
But that's two pillar. There's one more pillar which is a viable revenue model lah. Yeah, so
Mm-hmm.
that's the three pillar.
Mm.
And
Mm.
thereafter, I think it's really looking at, because you see the funny thing is that when I started, my mind is all about the so-called the poorer lah. Because
Mm.
and I give you personal example. I know personally one or two Bangladeshi workers.
Mm-hmm.
They got injured here. I think HealthServe, everyone is quite familiar. HealthServe
Mm-hmm.
basically help them. And
Mm.
so they go back to Bangladesh, and there's one or two that I continue to keep in touch with.
Mm-hmm.
Uh, and then there's one, I share one story. So this gentleman, he went back, and he has a lot of structural issues. Mother is
Mm.
sick. Basically, almost everyone in the family is sick, and a lot of issues. But he was working in a hotel as a cleaner.
Mm. Mm.
COVID hit, so he lost his job. So he go
Mm.
back to his house. Then we say, okay, maybe we give you $200. You go and farm some potato, so at least you have some food. Yeah. Then
Mm.
the flood came. Bangladesh always have
Aiyo.
flood, so
Yeah.
it's very bad. And these people, same thing. These people, they communicate with me on WhatsApp, so they have data. They can speak normal English, and yeah.
Mm.
But I always view them when I started. I view this group, like they're rich. So if again, take this one person, I'm just thinking
Mm.
there's just
Mm.
no jobs around him. But if today I'm able to lend him a digital remote work that pays him 200 USD a month,
Mm.
it's meaningful. It's
Yeah.
meaningful. Yeah, because
Yeah.
when we support him, I think we give him $50-$100 also.
I think
That's
200
like,
is also above the average already, right? I think average is like 100 or 100 plus, if
yeah,
I'm not wrong.
yeah.
Yeah.
So my heart is always with these
Mm.
people. Now the
Mm.
problem is that with COVID, it made it rather difficult. So now,
Mm.
but of course, that opened my eyes also. Like, I think in Singapore, there's also a lot of needs. The numbers
Yeah.
are not big, but I
Yeah.
think the needs are
They
there.
are. They are.
Yeah. So now I'm here. But I share this because I think once I can go out, I think I'll be outside running outside Singapore. Yeah. Yeah. So I think that's the plan. That will bring me to the next 24 months.
Okay. So let's say if some of my friends they want to get connected or support this mission, how can they do so?
There are many ways. Yeah. But best to have a chat with me. Then
Oh,
we
okay,
can see
okay.
how. Yeah.
Let me just put in your how would you like my friends to connect with you? LinkedIn or Facebook or
My number is fine.
oh you can put number because I'll put it under the ticker lah, just underneath the banner, the moving ticket. Can I put in
Okay.
your number? Yeah, okay, that
I'm okay. Yeah.
okay. So okay, let me just read out your number again.
8322
Okay. 8322
0512.
0512. Okay. Banner is coming right up. All right. So if you want to connect with Jay, you can drop him directly a WhatsApp message, and of course
Nice.
during office hours lah. Keep it during office hours. Don't want to disturb you at night. Yeah. So who else is involved in this mission? WeShine. How big is the team so far?
We are very small. So right now, I think, but I'm quite fortunate. I have a lot of people working pro bono. Yeah. And then in fact, right now we are looking to raise our first round.
Okay.
So that will allow me to hire some people.
Okay. Okay.
Yeah. But before that, it's just all friends who are
Chip
who
in
are very
lah.
supportive.
Like kampung
Yes.
kampung spirit.
Yes. Yes.
So what kind of help are you looking for in terms of getting this whole thing out? What kind of expertise do you need?
A lot.
A lot.
Yeah. Yeah.
Name
I
the
think I
top
think I
three.
think it's common. Yeah, it's common with any venture, early
Mm,
stage
mm, mm,
technology. I think data.
mm, mm.
Data is core to what we are doing lah. I think.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah. So people who are involved in that area, that's one. Um, we are as I shared earlier, we are looking for our first round.
Mm,
But I think particularly, you see, I'm all about the heart lah.
yes, yes.
So
Yes.
I think it'll be good to have people who are passionate, about impact, who are passionate about what we are doing, poverty
Mm,
alleviation,
mm,
things like that. Yeah. So I think so long as people have the right heart and soul and they care about such things,
mhm.
then that's the most critical. Yeah. Everybody has their own unique talent. And as
That's
a as
true.
a as
That's true.
a as a as a startup or venture, we are impact venture lah. I see myself as
Mm,
impact venture. As an impact venture, we need lots of talents. Yeah, but underlying that talent that everybody has, and we need a
mm,
good mix of all talent. But underlying that, I think is this passion, or at least alignment to the vision. Yeah,
mm,
I
mm,
think that's
mm.
the most important.
So what's the mission statement of WeShine?
Improve livelihood of people.
Improve livelihood of people.
Yes, yes,
Wow.
yeah.
So what are the groups that you're currently working with? You mentioned just now some of the migrant workers. Is there any other groups that you're working with currently?
Some of the migrant workers, for example, I mentioned that's
Yeah,
personal.
yeah. Yes. Oh, that's personal. Okay, okay.
Yeah, that's personal. But
Mm,
for WeShine, we are now focused on two sectors. So we
yeah.
are taking an industry approach. We are
Mm-hmm.
focusing on retail and F&B.
Okay.
Yeah, I guess there's maybe just to give a little bit more context.
Yeah,
Again, back
yeah,
to the
yeah.
Alliance for Action.
Yes.
Alliance for Action for lower wage worker. This is one of the 19 Alliance for Action in Singapore under the Emerging Stronger
Okay.
Task Force.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
So for this alliance, they particularly look at bottom 20% of
Mm,
Singaporeans and PR.
mm, mm. So I
So
suppose means tested lah. This is somehow there will be some kind of means testing lah for all this.
yeah, that's right. So within this group, so
Yeah.
basically, how I view Singapore is this: for Singapore, Singapore has a very unique social structure that's very different from other countries. But basically, in Singapore, is if you talk about the lower tier or the foundational layer, migrant
Yeah.
workers, that's one big group. Then you
Yeah.
have domestic helper, that's another group, and then you
Mm-hmm.
have Singaporean marginalized, and these are many pockets, smaller groups.
Mm,
So these are your uh, single moms,
mm,
elderlies and all that lah. As
mm.
conveyed, as you mentioned earlier on, things like that, people like that. I mean, so that's Singapore. Now
Yeah.
we have already started looking at the lower wage because of the alliance. Okay,
Mm-hmm.
because this alliance particularly look at Singaporeans, but
Mm-hmm.
what we are building is actually can be applicable for the other group also. But of course, with
Yes.
some customization. What do I mean? For example, migrant workers and domestic helpers, their visa are tied to their employers. So
Mm.
when you're talking about helping them find job, it's quite irrelevant. Yeah. Although I'm hearing that migrant workers now, people are snatching workers.
Oh
Yeah.
yes, because especially in
Yeah.
construction industry, because my friends in construction industry are telling me that because some of the workers they have gone back and then when the companies try to bring in people, it's very difficult because they have quarantine and all that. They have to fork out all those fees. Yeah, so actually now that there is a manpower crunch. Yeah, so migrant workers, I think they shouldn't be have too much difficulty trying to find jobs.
Yeah. So Singapore is, I always think Singapore is quite unique. Yeah. Singapore on the ground, we find that the main problem is not that workers cannot find job, is that the expectations are not aligned. So the main problem is that companies, especially at this level, some we are talking about security guards, cleaning companies, and things like that. They cannot find workers. This is the biggest problem. Yeah, which is quite unique to Singapore.
What other challenges have you faced or have you overcome in the process of setting up WeShine?
I think setting up any startup, you face a lot of challenges. One of the first things I talked to you about, I don't know whether we have gone live yet, but I was saying starting up new things, be it new ventures, new charity, whatever, starting up new things are always very difficult. Yeah. So unless you have that that kind of DNA that your mother cane you, but you still go and do.
If you have a time
that
machine,
kind is okay.
If you have a time machine, you can travel back and then back maybe 10 years or 15 years. We have changed anything? We have done anything differently?
No.
Same.
Same.
No regrets.
Yeah.
Life
anyway, challenges are a lot.
Yeah, for sure. For sure. Many different kind of challenges. Yeah. So moving forward, right, in the next 12 months, what will you be happy with to see WeShine? What are some of the milestones you have set yourself for WeShine, for yourself and the team at WeShine?
Yeah. For if you're asking me for WeShine, it's really, so I go back to the minimum viable company. Yeah. So it's to achieve that.
Okay. So that's
but again, that's really, like you talk to investors or talk to people, you share that. But if you ask me, because you told me this is a very casual, heart-to-heart talk, right?
Yeah, very casual. Yeah. If you ask me,
yeah. So if you ask me, apart from that, the politically correct answer, which is important. Yeah, we are determined to reach anyway. And then there are numbers, we want to onboard how many people, we want to all that. Okay, but that aside, I think inside me, I think that even if we are able to just help one person, I'm also happy. I'm also happy. Yeah. So again, even when I'm doing this, of course, I want to help as many as I can, and because I think big, I'm somebody who think very big, so I want to do that. But yet, on the other hand, I also have this part of me that is like, well, even if in the end, if I'm helping one person, I'm happy. So I guess it's more like, while we have all this big grand scheme and ambition, but ultimately it's people focus. It's about, if I'm able to help one, that's good. And then after that, I'll move to the second. I'll move to 10, maybe. I think it's that.
As you are describing this part, I just remember one little story that I read. So he was at the beach and the father and the son. So the son was picking up the starfishes and throwing them back one by one. So the father was a bit perplexed. Then he asked the son, "Why are you doing this?" And the son said, "What I do may not matter much in the big grand scheme of things, but it matters to that starfish that I'm throwing back." It's a very beautiful story. And what you're saying, help one person at a time, help one person, making a difference in a person's life, one person's life at a time. It's really
it's still something. Yeah.
Yes, it's still something. To that person, it's everything. To that person that you're helping, is everything.
Yeah. So I guess people first. Yeah, I'm very very focused on people first, and yeah, that's I'll be happy.
You found your happiness. Welcome to the Happy Man Club. So I really like to support your vision and mission. I'm sure moving forward there will be opportunities for us to work together. And then to all my friends, I think there are about 7 or 8 people online with us, but we cannot see on this StreamYard. First time I had this little issue with StreamYard, but no worries. It's always on YouTube and on Facebook after this. And for my friends who are watching this video and they would like to connect with Jay, once again, you can actually text him on his number keep it during office hours, Jay Ng, as well as you can also find him on LinkedIn and Facebook. Yeah, Jay Ng. Yeah, and yes, please support WeShine in whatever means you can. Please get connected with Jay Ng, and thank you for my time for your time this tonight. It's 9:45 already, and thank you Jay for coming online to come with me, and I really enjoyed the past 45 minutes. It's like walking down a little bit of your history, and then also looking forward to the future that you are looking forward to.
Wonderful. Thank you very much.
Okay, thanks guys, and stay tuned next week. This time I'll be interviewing an ex-con. His name is Alvin Cheong. I think the surname is Cheong, Alvin Cheong, and he's been in behind bars for actually drug. Yeah, he's been for drugs, and then what amazing story. Stay tuned. I'll be interviewing him, and I'm very sure that you'll be encouraged. Meanwhile, have a good night's rest and have a fruitful week ahead. Bye bye.
Good night. Bye bye.